Sam, just to ask you that question, because so many people want to know why social business and this model of network marketing works so well together. So we could do it kind of interview style, if you like, or I could just let you talk.
Why don't you interview me? Because that'll help me. I forgot what we talked about the other day. I've talked to so many people since then.
Okay.
So.
All
Yeah,
right.
just interview me. That'd be great.
All right. Sounds good. So Deborah, whenever you're ready, we'll start the recording. You let me know in the chat.
We're recording, Marcy.
Oh, okay. All right. So good afternoon, everyone in Vancouver, BC. It's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and it's 7 p.m. on the East Coast and 6 p.m. on Central Time. So welcome, everyone from across the country. We've got a very special guest today. My name is Marcy Schachter, and I've been so privileged to get to know Sam Castor when he came to Vancouver a few months ago, and all of the amazing things that he's been doing since he came to Evolve. And we have some other wonderful people on the call today. Kathy Doman, who's a mentor extraordinaire, and Deborah McDonald. So I'm going to interview Sam because we had this conversation the other day that I thought a lot of the people out there who are wondering how this is different, and Evolve, started as straightforward network marketing, but with a kind of charitable giving, component right from the very beginning back in 2008 or so. And it's evolved, as the name says, evolve into what it is today with Sam's contribution. And just to give anyone background who doesn't know who Sam Castor is, he's the founder of Mana Relief, which is the charitable foundation that has triggered somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 or 89 million, I've lost count, servings of whole food nutrition to children all over the world. He's so passionate on this cause. And then, of course, came to Evolve a year and a half ago with the idea of doing the Buy One, Nourish Two. And I know many of you have already looked at information on the website. So I'm going to have Sam just kind of go through, the process of how he came to this. So my first question is, what promoted the idea to you about looking at network marketing to begin with, before you even got into social business? Because that's a good story in itself.
You mean just network marketing in general?
Yeah. What was it about it?
So,
yeah.
Well, what happened with me, Marcy, is I was introduced to a technology base that was very unique. It was the discovery of ace-mannan, which is the medically active molecule in the aloe vera plant. And the research pharmacologist that made the discovery had filed patents on how to process and stabilize it. They had made veterinary medicine out of it. They had made really advanced wound care technologies. But in their attempt to bring it out as a drug for humans, it would not go through the FDA process. And so that's when I was introduced to these guys, and we talked about the best application for it being oral. In other words, it activates the immune system. 70% of your immune system is in your gut. Swallowing it is the most efficacious way to influence your immune system. So they said, really, it's a better dietary supplement than it is a drug. But we don't know anything about the supplement industry, and we've made an attempt at retailing it, and we failed miserably because we're competing with aloe vera products that don't have the active ingredient that cost 1/5 of the cost. So somehow we've got to get our message out there. And so in talking about that, I said, the network distribution model provides two components that you can't get in retail. Number one, you can educate your consumer because you've got people who can give the consumer any level of information that they want. Sometimes it's just, here's what it does. Sometimes they want to see the studies, but it doesn't really matter what level of education the consumer needs to make a decision. You can facilitate that in a network marketing distribution model. The second, and equally as critical, is the sharing of the experience. You don't get that going into a retail store. You walk in there and you see 50 bottles of aloe vera on the shelf, and they all say made from 100% aloe. You don't know which ones are efficacious. You don't know what ace-mannan is. You don't know what people have experienced, what types of benefits they've seen. And so the networking distribution model is the absolute best distribution model for new and what I would call disruptive technologies, because you're going into markets that already exist with new innovative technologies that require an education, that require a sharing of an experience. But when you put those two things together, Marcy, it's like magic. So I took that technology, that patented technology, and built a company that probably sold over $3 billion worth of that Ace Mannin over a period of 18 to 20 years. And so that's why I'm such a fan of network marketing distribution, because it provides an educational component and it provides the ability to share experiences.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's the first time I've heard you share that part of the story. So it's good to know. And it's funny, Judy Adolph and I from Vancouver were just in a mall with a bunch of nutrition stores. And I know exactly how people feel when you walk in and you see walls and walls of product and you have no idea. And most of the staff seldom know anything. So, or if they do, that maybe they're picking their favorite. We really don't know. But with also, I think the network marketing model is the stories that we've all heard, and you have some amazing stories that, can you touch on that a little bit? How did that pan out when you did start getting this on people? Like, how quickly did that process of word of mouth spread once you got it out there?
It happened immediately. Because it takes years for your body to break down, but it takes days for it to start rebuilding. And so when people have compromised health, they see the most dramatic impact. Somebody whose health is actually pretty good, it doesn't mean that in the 21st century you shouldn't be taking these products, because one of the best articles I read on things like chronic inflammation and compromised immune system due to poor gut health is, in the 21st century, the world that we live in, the food choices that we have, the toxicity that we're exposed to, the amount of stress in our lives, it is no longer a question of whether you have chronic inflammation, it's how much. It's no longer a question, is your immune system compromised, it's how much. It's no longer a question of, are you undernourished? A study came out in this country that said, and this is by the USDA, Department of Agriculture, that said practically no one gets adequate nutritional support with our modern diets. So when you take those three things into consideration, everybody could benefit from our core technologies. I mean, everybody out there. Now, someone whose health is already compromised, someone who's already, extremely overweight or obese, they're going to see a much more profound response quicker. And of course, I think that's what incentivizes everybody. They see somebody respond. Really, modern medicine doesn't have a lot of answers when it comes to chronic disorders. The best that we can do is basically manage poor health. But the human body has something very unique. It's the capacity to heal itself. And that's what medicine can't do. Only the human body can do that. It's for the body's regeneration, defense. It's like a magic switch was turned on. And through our integrative strategy of combining the best of medicine with the best nutritional support, integrative support, you actually do see best patient outcomes. And what that does is people cannot believe what they just heard. Somebody walked across that stage, somebody in your meeting, somebody told you a response that they had that they just couldn't believe. And it's because you can't get it from medicine alone. You have to support the body's normal functions of recovery in order to get this level of response. So, Marcy, it happens pretty quick. And the more dramatic the health issues, the more dramatic the response seems to be.
Absolutely. I have personal experience with that. As you know, my husband had an autoimmune thing last summer. We was walking around on a cane and crutches in Mexico. And by the time we had you come to Vancouver in October, we got him on the extra dose of immune. And within 2.5 weeks, he was walking around without his crutches, and he hasn't been on them since. So I know these products are amazing, and we could go on and on about them. So then my other question for you is, obviously network marketing model is powerful. We know that people spread good news very, very quickly. And we haven't even begun to, get into this marketplace, really. We're just getting started with now hitting 10 million servings, I think, this weekend, they said. So with social business being part of this, where do you see this going? What's your future sort of projection of where do you see this going now that we're aligned with that whole, program of doing buy one, nourish two?
Well, let me give you just a little perspective on social business before I directly answer that question. First of all, I think social business is the most innovative way of doing business that the world has ever seen. And I say that because there's a better good than just the money that you make from it. You get a sense of accomplishment, a sense of significance through social business that you can't get just with a paycheck or a bonus or a stock option or whatever the reward is in traditional business, because you know that your life is accounted for more than just a paycheck. And people are looking for that. They're striving for that. The best-selling book in sort of the Christian world for several years was Purpose Driven Life. Why was that best-selling? Because everybody wants to know what their purpose is. Everybody wants to know, what is my life all about? How do I bring meaning and significance to my existence? And I think social business allows anybody out there to plug into it and become a part of something bigger than themselves. So I love that. From a practical standpoint, in the marketplace itself, there's been great consumer studies done that said, all things being equal, consumers will 85% of the time buy a product that is attached to a social cause versus one that isn't. So just from a pure business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to be involved, in social causes that you can communicate easily, show people the impact of, because again, it's just a consumer decision. And the study that was done said the reason for that is that in the 21st century, it's getting harder and harder in the 21st century economy for people to give. In other words, the economy is tightening up, jobs are hard to find, all that stuff. It's not that we have a failing economy. It's just it's a shift. I remember back in 2008 when the banking industry collapsed and you had all this turmoil. I read a book called The End of Charity. And the author of the book said, look, it's no longer, it is not a glitch in the economy we're dealing with, it's a shift. And in the 21st century, giving is going to be more difficult, than ever before. So what does social business do? It allows people to give through their consumption. What an ingenious way to allow people to participate. It's compassionate consumption. And that goes to the heart of that issue, that 85% of the time people would choose a product if they're all things being versus those that did. So having said all of that, let me go back to this. So how does this play out for our company? Well, one of the things about social business is it's gone through its own evolution. It started with what they called social business 1.0. And that was entrepreneurs, just dedicated their resources, their services, their talents to building businesses that provided cash flow and technologies for sustainable impact to global issues. That's a lot said in one word. But, it's just people that said, look, I think I can convert my business into something that makes a difference. And that's what I'm going to allocate my time to. Social business classes have become the number one most requested business courses in business schools all over the world, because we have a whole generation of young people now that are saying, I want my life to account for something more than a paycheck. I love this concept. Who wouldn't want to, if you had the choice of creating Tom shoes or Bass shoes or Florsheim, which one would you pick? You pick Tom's, for crying out loud. Because it is such a popular, it's the most recognizable brand of shoe in the world today. Not because it sells more than everybody else, because of what they do with their company. So it is a great business decision to do it. So that's 1.0. 2.0 is the collaboration between social businesses and businesses that already have infrastructure in place. So I just mentioned Tom's. This is the guy that started a shoe company, Blake Mikowski. Every time he sold a pair of shoes, he donated a pair of shoes. That's pretty cool. And he was doing okay. And then Macy's, Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom's saw that brand and the brand recognition that had been created by that social cause, and they wanted to start selling that shoe. Now, they didn't take a cut and pay. They make their typical retail margin. Tom's just gives away the shoes that they always gave away. But everybody capitalized on the goodwill that Tom Shoes had created. So that's called 2.0. Collaborating between major distribution partners and social entrepreneurs. But the first book I read, Marcy, on social entrepreneurship was by a guy named David Bornstein, probably the most prolific writer on social business. And he said the real future of social business is 3.0. And that's entrepreneurs that figure out platforms that allow all people, not just Nordstrom's and Macy's, but all people to participate and profit from social business ideas. And he said that will be the biggest movement in social business the world has ever seen. And it's for a couple of reasons. Number one, it goes back to that issue of retail versus the direct marketing potential that a networking distribution model brings to the table. Networking is a proactive marketing initiative. Retailing is passive. So even as good as Tom's is, you got to wait for somebody to walk in the store. You got to wait for them to be educated. You got to wait for them to know what's going on. Then they come and buy a pair of shoes. In Social Business 3.0, you're taking your message into the marketplace because you're incentivizing compassionate consumers who are seeing the response that they're getting with the products for considering being part of a movement. It doesn't have to be full-time income. It doesn't have to be a full-time decision. It's just join us, become a part of it. And that proactive initiative will drive social business movements more dramatically than anything that's ever happened in this space. So that's how it all fits together. And that's why I love what we're doing.
Me too. And you just made it so clear to understand why, I talk to a lot of young people, as I'm sure many of these other members that work with Evolve have as well. And I've noticed that the generation right now, that 20-something, they are so excited when I share what we're doing with, the Tom Shoes model, and they all know about Tom Shoes. So
Exactly.
Moving forward, where Evolve is today, and that we're still virtually unknown in many parts of North America, and just getting this whole buy one, nourish two message out there, it's just exciting to see what could happen for people. So you've been with companies that have had explosive growth, right, in the past with your own company and seen others, I'm sure. Do you think we're there? Is that the point that we're at? And
you know what? I think we're getting everything in place to be there. We're not there yet, Marcy. Like for instance, at this weekend that's coming up in Nashville that a lot of us are attending, one of the things that happens with this kind of technology, you break into the healthcare community. When you break into the healthcare community, like I did a call today in Canada with a naturopathic doctor who is very, very interested in what makes us unique, what makes us special, why is what we have superior to anything that she's working with. And, we can answer those questions. And it's not just hype and it's not just a story. There's legitimate science. So we're just now getting there. But one of the things that's happening in Nashville is there is a very successful, young, vibrant healthcare professional that's doing an integrative health series of his own. In other words, if you go on the internet, you see Mercola, you see Dr. Axe, you see Dr. Hyman, you see Dr. Pompa. There's a lot of these sort of gurus that really research nutrition and provide platforms or sites for people to go to and educate themselves. And man, they get followings like crazy. Well, this doctor just loves the idea of creating that environment around integrative health. So he's going to do his own integrative health series. But I met with him for about 2.5 hours when we were in Minnesota. And when he saw our technology, he said, so starting my series, I want to feature your technologies.
Wow.
And so now all of a sudden what's happening from an educational standpoint, let's say that we approach somebody with our technology base for integrative health. Maybe they have a chronic health condition, and you say, I think you ought to just watch this video. It's from, a medical professional in the United States that's created a series around integrative health. Just listen to how he validates the whole concept of integrative health and see if that's something that you may consider. Look at what he's doing with, listen to the story of Ace Mannon, listen to the story of purified betalins, and then let me answer your questions. So why not have a healthcare professional telling that story to someone? It brings a lot more credibility. So those are the things that happen, Marcy, along the way that bring all of the things into alignment that we're trying to create for this magic thing called momentum. And, you've got to start your company sometime. You've got to launch the technologies. You've got to build the base of belief, and you've got to make inroads into the healthcare professional because they have all the credibility in the world for telling our story. I can tell the story. You can tell the story, but I don't have the word doctor before my name, and it does bring a level of independent credibility to the conversation. And so that's what's happening right now. And that series is going to be launched while we're in Nashville. So we'll all have access to it. So those are the things these are the final pieces of the puzzle that provide us the opportunity to go into momentum, because momentum can only be achieved when everybody can do this and do it effortlessly. And they don't have to become a biochemist. They don't have to know what I know, to do this business. They just need to be able to say, listen to this because I thought this was the most compelling thing I've ever heard. My husband, my wife, my child, my parents are struggling with this. When I heard this video, 3 minutes, 4-minute video, I thought, why not? I don't want to see my relative, my loved one suffer anymore. If this can provide a better outcome to their health, I'm all in. And so that's what we're after. So we are right there on the verge, Marcy, of having everything that we need to duplicate this in a very dynamic way.
Fantastic. Well, I'm more excited than ever. And we have a young medical student that just joined our call here, Anka, and she missed the first part. But what I wanted to wrap up with is that with social business and network marketing, when I do talk to people who have had that stigma, somebody approached them badly or they've heard things. And what's the thing that you would say to people who say, I don't know if these things work? How do you handle that one? So I'm curious.
Well, I say, first of all, social business works. Social business as a model, according to Harvard Business Review, will be the most dynamic business model of the 21st century. And they're not the only ones saying that. Stanford is, Sayed University in England. I mean, every place you go, social business is the talking point for where the future of business lies. Okay. The second thing I say is the most aggressive form of social business is 3.0. And that's what all the experts are saying. That's not me, that's the experts. Mm-hmm. And that's a platform that allows all people to participate. So what we did is we borrowed the online purchase system of Amazon, which is dynamic. We took the model of social business, which is predicted to be the most, strategic business model of the 21st century, dynamic, and we linked it with the networking distribution model that allows us to proliferate a 3.0 business solution into the marketplace. And so I don't know what it is that you don't like about that distribution, but we will trump all those through social business because it's not about greed. It's not about manipulation. It's about building a platform that allows all people to participate in something that can not only earn them a living, but give them a life of significance, which at the end of the day is what everybody is striving for, and it's hard to find.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Well, thank you so much, Sam. And I don't want to take too much more of your time. You're spending the afternoon driving your daughter from dance class and probably want to hang out with her. So I'm so excited to have you share some of this. And I'm definitely going to be passing this video on to people who weren't able to join us today. So we'll close out and thank you everybody for coming on. And if any of you would like to ask some questions after the video shuts down here, feel free to reach out to the person that invited you on the call. I'm Marcy Schachter, Emerald in Vancouver. Super excited about where we're going, and I hope some of you are going to be in Nashville with us in a couple of weeks. Thanks again, Sam.